Hi everyone! I do hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. Today is actually the second episode of True Crime Time. Here I'm going to be talking about a very infamous case, and that is the case of David Parker Ray, more commonly known as the Toy Box Killer. This episode was recorded live over on Twitch, and you can find my Twitch account linked down below. Sadly, this is actually the second time this episode has been recorded. The first time it was recorded, there were technical problems, so hopefully this time goes a little bit better. I just want to give a quick trigger warning for this case. Today's case will include mentions of SA and torture, so if this is something you don't want to listen to, I completely understand. Feel free to click off the video, and hopefully next time the content will be something more suitable for you. Also, I just want to make everyone aware that this video is for informational purposes only. All of the content we'll be talking about today is information that I have gathered through research I have conducted on the internet using readily available sources. The video is intended to educate, and no disrespect is intended towards any of the victims that we're going to be talking about today. I do try my hardest to ensure that all of the information I gather is correct, but please take into consideration that there may be some errors or gaps within the information, but I do try and avoid this as much as I possibly can. So, without further ado, let's get into today's case. So, David Parker Ray, he was born on the 6th of November 1939 to parents Nettie Parker and Cecil Ray. He did have a sister who was 3 years younger, and she was named Peggy Pearl Ray. David was actually brought up by his strict grandparents in Truth and Consequences, which is located in New Mexico, but he was often visited by his father as well, who is said to have been a violent alcoholic, and he actually supplied David with inappropriate sadomasochistic adult content while he was still a young child, so he had a lot of negative influences from a really young age. He is said to have a difficult school life as well, and he was often bullied, and this was due to him being awkward around girls. The bullying did lead to him abusing alcohol and drugs from a young age as well. So David is said to have developed the deprived sexual urges early on in his life, and his sister actually found drawings that he'd done and magazines of abusive kind of relations and bondage when he was just a teenager, and since she found those, she never talked to him. After he completed high school, he joined the US Army as a mechanic, but he was honorably discharged. I couldn't actually find a reason why he was discharged though. I did try and look, but there was no sources that I could see that actually explained why that was. He then continued to work as a mechanic after he was discharged in New Mexico up until he was arrested. Throughout his life, David was married and divorced 4 times, and from these marriages he did have 2 children, one of which was named Jessie, and she was actually labelled as an accomplice in his crimes. During the time of his arrest, he did have a girlfriend named Cynthia Hendy. You can see a picture of her there at the bottom. It gets very confusing, there's quite a lot of Cindys in this. But he met Cindy in 1997. And the extent of Cindy's involvement kind of varies between sources. It was quite difficult to pinpoint how involved she was in this. But she did have some involvement, definitely, and she was aware of what David was actually doing. David actually spent approximately $100,000 on a trailer, and he fitted this trailer with sexual toys and torture devices, and the trailer was located in Elephant Butte, Albuquerque, which is also in New Mexico. Some of the toys he had actually made himself using his skills and knowledge as a mechanic. You can find pictures of these handmade things online if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to show them here. Please be warned, if you do want to go and check them out, they are quite disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised for those pictures, but they are out there. You can see a picture here from the inside of the trailer as well. This is like a crime scene picture, and you can see that there's like a medical chair and lots of medical equipment and other things there. David actually drugged his victims with sedatives, and these sedatives were found to be things such as sodium pentothal and phenobarbital. I think I said that right. And this was done so that they were unable to remember what actually occurred to them. He recorded a tape that he would actually play to his victims when they woke up, and this tape actually told them what he was going to do to them, what horrors would occur to them during their time in the toy box. And in this tape, he actually mentioned that, quote unquote, "At the time that this tape was made, I have taken 37 women for these purposes," end quote. So that kind of shows how many people he actually took, where At the time that the tape was made, he had already claimed to have taken 37 women. Here's a picture of the outside of the trailer. It looks like a completely normal trailer, nothing out of the ordinary with it. You would have absolutely no idea if you walked past this trailer what was inside of it. I tried to find some more details on when the trailer was purchased, but I was actually unable to find a date or anything indicating when he likely started using the toy box, so I'm not sure whether it's known. Here you can see an inside look of the trailer, and this was done using X-ray imaging. You can see a layer of what it actually looked like inside. On the right, at the top right there, you can actually see a TV screen. And on this TV screen, this is where David would play the pre-recorded tape once they woke from their drug-induced coma. Like I said before, the tape told the victims what they were going to expect. And he's said to have done this to try and instill more fear into the victims and to make him feel more in control and more powerful over them. I am now going to play a small audio snippet from the tape that he played to his victims. So the original full recording that he would show to his victims was actually over 40 minutes long. I have listened to some of it, and it is absolutely horrific. If you want to go and listen to it yourself, please be warned. I would probably advise not to. It is very difficult to hear. I'm going to show a little bit from the beginning of the audio.
Hello there, bitch. Are you comfortable right now? I doubt it. Wrists and ankles chained, gagged, probably blindfolded. You are disoriented and scared too, I would imagine. Perfectly normal under the circumstances. For a little while at least, you need to get your shit together and listen to this tape. It is very relevant to your situation. I'm going to tell you, in detail, why you have been kidnapped, what's going to happen to you, and how long you'll be here. I don't know the details of your capture, because this tape is being created July 23rd, 1993, as a general advisory tape for all future female captives. The information I'm going to give you is based on my experience dealing with captives over a period of several years. If at a future date there are any major changes in our procedures, the tape will be upgraded.
Absolutely horrible. When I first heard that, it was like, it's so much worse than you actually could imagine it being. Like, if you listen to more of it as well, it gets so much worse. I'm not going to play it. It goes into a lot of detail. I couldn't listen to it all. We're going to jump to David's final victim, actually. We're going to start at the end. The final victim was on the 19th of March, 1999. And the victim here was Cynthia Vigil. She was only 22 years old. And she was soliciting sexual services in a parking lot in New Mexico in Albuquerque. Cynthia, she had a troubled childhood growing up. She experienced SA by a family member at the age of 11. She did attempt to report this assault, but it was dismissed. And then at the age of 15, her mother was actually found murdered. But the police didn't do anything about it because her mother had ties to drugs, so they just didn't care. They wrote it off initially as an overdose, and then that was it, really. At 20 years old, she also lost her best friend to murder as well, so she went through a lot in such a short space of time. So on the night that Vigil was abducted, a woman invited her into an RV, and David was there pretending to be an undercover cop, and he told her that she was under arrest for soliciting sexual services, and he put her in the back of his car. So she thought that he was a police officer. He had a badge. He kidnapped her that way. So he took her to the nearby soundproof trailer, which is the toy box that we showed before. And here he assaulted and tortured her with the help of his girlfriend for 3 days. So his girlfriend, Cindy Handy, was actually said to be involved in this. So Cynthia was left on a bed, and she had a metal dog collar tied around her neck, and she was chained to a pole and only had a bucket for a toilet. She said that she was taken daily to David's toy box, and he either called it the toy box or Satan's Den. That is the names that he said to have given the chamber itself, the trailer. And when she was there, she was chained to a gynecology chair and repeatedly assaulted for those 3 days straight. So she first attempted to escape. She attempted once and failed. By doing this, she unscrewed a cabinet which she was chained to, but they found out. They heard her, they came, and they prodded her with a cattle prod to knock her out before she actually managed to escape. Here is a picture of the crime scene where she is said to have been kept chained to a bed when she wasn't in the toy box. It looks like she's in their trailer or their house or whatever it is, I guess so they can keep an eye on her. On the 22nd of March 1999, at this point, David was 59 years old. She actually managed to escape. She studied her surroundings as they took her out to the trailer. She stood it every single day when they were taking her out. And then one day she noticed that Cindy Hendy, which is David's girlfriend, was talking to someone on the phone and had actually left the keys to her padlock on a coffee table nearby. Whilst Cynthia, the girlfriend, wasn't looking, she tried to unlock herself, but the girlfriend actually returned and began beating her. The girlfriend hit Cindy over the head with a lamp, but then Cindy found an ice pick and managed to stab the girlfriend in the neck with the ice pick, and also managed to dial 911. I couldn't really find much more detail on this, but from several sources, that is what I gathered. Cindy actually ran from the trailer then. She was completely naked, only wearing the metal dog collar, and she was covered in blood. And a car actually drove by her and stopped, but they wouldn't let her in the car, so she had to run to a nearby trailer, and she got help from an elderly couple who also called 911 as well. Due to the nature of what happened to Cindy, she actually now has permanent nerve damage, and she's gained absolutely no compensation for this nerve damage, which honestly disgusted me when I found that out. So when police responded to Cynthia's call and arrested David and his girlfriend, they tried to claim that they were innocent and that Cindy was actually a heroin addict and they were trying to wean her off the drug. That is what they tried to claim. But police did find the toy box chamber, and that contained evidence that coincided with Cynthia's account. So it included the fake police badge, all of the torture devices. So some of the evidence that they found was that they had set up 2 video cameras in the trailer. The police are said to have found approximately 100 homemade videotapes, but they were actually only able to use one of these as evidential use. And this one that was of evidential use actually showed David testing out the equipment. And then the video cut to show David with one of his victims within the chamber, and the victim was unresponsive. The police had no idea who this woman was, but they saw a really unique tattoo of a bird on her outer right calf. So they took this tattoo, took a screenshot from the video, and they took it to the media, asking, does anyone recognize that tattoo? Is this your tattoo? Can you please come forward if it is? And after they did this, a woman came forward, and she's referenced as both Kelly Van Cleve and Kelly Garrett. From cross-referencing, I have kind of worked out that it's referencing the same person. So I'm just going to call her Kelly. So within the trailer, they also found evidence that there was more than one woman present. This evidence included pieces of jewelry, and because there were so many victims which were obviously unaccounted for with the amount of jewelry that there was, you can find this jewelry. There's like a database which you can search up. I found it online. It's nothing bad. It's just pictures of all of the items of jewelry evidence. You can go through and you can look. There's absolutely tons of pages of this jewelry. There's so many pieces of jewelry. So because of the amount of jewelry and the people that there's obviously unaccounted for, there is speculation that he might be a serial killer and not just a woman torturer, but there is no proof of this. Within the evidence as well, they recovered a map of Elephant Butte Lake with X's marked on it. So this lake was located close to David's home, and it was the largest body of water in New Mexico. There was several dive missions, but nothing was located in any of these missions, including bodies or other bits of possible evidence. And also, like I said before, he used drugs to subdue the victims, and obviously they found evidence of those drugs, the sodium pentothal and phenobarbital. More than 30 women are said to have experienced David's torture chamber, as you heard in the video before. I think he said, as of this tape, 37. One of these women was a woman named Angela M., and she came forward to tell authorities about being abducted by David around a month before Cynthia did. She reported it before, but police didn't look into it. Once again, police didn't care. They did absolutely nothing. But she sadly passed away on the 7th of May 1999 before David's trial because of a drug overdose. The individual we mentioned before with the tattoo, as I said, she was referenced as Kelly Van Cleve and Kelly Garrett. She was actually a childminder and a friend of David's daughter, Jessie Ray. I mentioned her before. She actually had no recollection at all of going to David's house, but she recognized her tattoo being shown in the media. Before the FBI contacted her, she remembered having constant nightmares of being tied to a table and had absolutely no idea why she was having these constant nightmares. But over time, she began to remember the details through police questioning. She reports that she doesn't remember being allowed to eat or drink anything throughout the time she was held captive. The drugs themselves kind of subdued any of her memories on the events that happened. And it's kind of thought that that's why a lot of the victims weren't found, because they couldn't remember. Her abduction occurred in 1996. She was drugged by Jessie, which is David's daughter, at a bar after having an argument with her husband. Jessie told Kelly that she would give her a lift home, but she actually took her back to the trailer where she was tortured by David for 2 days. She was then left at the side of the road to die with a slit throat. Police didn't believe her. They thought that it was her own problem, and her husband thought she cheated and filed for a divorce. I do not know why those things came to mind, why they saw that and they thought, yeah, that makes sense. Because that's what happened. You know, like you just go and you cheat and somehow end up with your throat slit. So here's a picture of Kelly's tattoo. It's a really unique tattoo, and it allowed her to identify herself from the images posted by the FBI. I couldn't find the original pictures that the FBI posted of her tattoo, so I had to get this picture from a more recent interview with Kelly, so I apologize that it's kind of blurry, but this is the best I could get. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of an interview with Kelly. This is just of her account of the night.
In 1996, she was abducted from this once bustling bar on the outskirts of Truth or Consequences.
We rounded up a bunch of friends and went bar hopping, and this is where we ended up. We always ended up here. No matter where we started, this is where we quit. There used to be a little mini bar sitting here, pool tables right there, and we were playing pool, and I had ordered a beer, and I left to take one of my drunk friends home, and came back, and some of my other friends left. And at the end of the evening, it was just me and Jessie. Jessie Ray, David's daughter.
So we're going on to another victim now. Someone who is kind of involved, but kind of not. It's quite difficult to explain. In July 1997, 1 year after Kelly's abduction, there's a possible victim with the name of Marie Parker, and she was aged only 21, and she was a friend of Kelly Garrett's. She was followed out of a bar by Jessie, which is David's daughter, when she went to check on her 2 children that she'd left at home. She was hanging out with Kelly Garrett at the time, but Kelly couldn't remember what she'd gone through at this point. This was actually after Kelly's time with David, but like I said, she couldn't remember it because of the drugs that she'd been given. Marie hasn't actually been seen since that night. Jessie was hanging out with one of David's friends called Roy Yancey during the evening, and Roy was actually arrested and questioned in regards to Marie's disappearance, and he stated that he was aware that David had many years of kidnapping, torturing, and killing women, quote unquote. He claimed that David gave him a rope and told him to strangle Marie after torturing her for several days. He said that he and David then dumped her body in the desert afterwards, but police could never locate a body, so it couldn't actually officially be linked to David. That's why it's only a possible victim. So Roy pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 20 years for this murder. I couldn't find a picture of Marie to show you, sadly. I tried to look, but there doesn't seem to be anything online, or at least anything that states explicitly that this is Marie, so I don't want to include it just in case. We're going on to David's sentencing now, and his trial began on the 28th of March 2000, but he actually had a heart attack, and this caused the trial to be postponed. During his trial, David stated that Kelly had actually come to his home willingly for beers and had consented to intercourse. But Kelly's defense stated that this story contradicted the tapes that he played to his victims. But sadly, Kelly couldn't remember whether David had played this tape to her, so this fact was actually ruled irrelevant, and the jury weren't allowed to listen to the tape as any evidence. Because of this, there wasn't a unanimous decision that Kelly was a victim, so David couldn't be sentenced for his crimes, which is very frustrating. But luckily, the case was actually retried, and a different judge and jury were used 9 months later, and then in this trial, the jury were actually allowed to listen to the tape, which was great news for Kelly. And this time, on the 16th of April 2001, he was found guilty and was given 224 years in prison for his actions. He got 224 years because he was tried for 6 counts of sexual penetration, kidnapping, assault with intent to commit violent felony, criminal sexual contact, and many other things. This is just a short snippet of the list of things he was guilty of, but I thought I would just include a few so you could get a rough idea of the things that were included. Here is a picture of David in his wonderful prison gear. I just thought I would include that. So, Cindy, his girlfriend, was sentenced to 36 years in prison. She got this because she accepted a plea deal where she had to testify against David. But on the 15th of July 2019, she was granted parole. She only served 19 years of her 32-year sentence. She got away with serving absolutely nothing. She should have served every last minute of that sentence, but no, she got let out after 19 years. So Jessie, which is David's daughter, was only sentenced for 2.5 years for her involvement in the crimes, and this was where she was accused of participating in abductions. So she got absolutely nothing as well, which really, really angered me when I found out. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see a picture of Jessie Ray on the left, so David's daughter on the left, and Cynthia Hendy, his girlfriend, on the right. So both of these people are currently released from prison and are walking free. Honestly, I will never understand why people like this get let out of prison. It disgusts me. The fact that she got let off after only 19 years. David actually died on the 28th of May 2002. I believe that's after serving 1 year. He served 1 year, I think. So he got away with it pretty much scot-free. He got absolutely no punishment for what he did. He served 1 year and then he died, which also really frustrates me. He got the easy way out, and that makes me so mad because the people that he did this to, they did not get the easy way out. A lot of those people, they must be really struggling. The people that can remember it, the people that are alive to tell the tale, they must be going through such awful things, which that lasts more than a year. But no, he gets the easy route out and he dies after serving 1 year of his sentence. The one good thing that did come out of this is that Cynthia, the victim, she has helped to create a non-profit charity called Street Safe New Mexico. And this charity helps to give protection and assistance to women living on the streets. So for this charity, they accept both physical and monetary donations, and this goes toward providing items such as shampoo, underwear, feminine hygiene products, and safety equipment like flashlights to women that are in need and living on the streets. They actually also help to educate on the signs of human trafficking and other problems which women might actually face. So please go and check out the website, spread the word on the charity, and give some help if you can. I'm gonna link it down in the description below. They have some drop-off collection bins, I think, in New Mexico as well, if you are in the New Mexico area. I'm glad that something good did come out of this, but it's just so frustrating that for something good, there has to be so much bad. It's so frustrating that he got absolutely nothing for his crimes. He got let off so easy. But yeah, that is the end. Thank you all very much for watching today's video. I really appreciate the support with this new style of content. If you want to see more of me, I do stream live on Twitch several times a week, and you can see the links on the screen now or down in the description box below. If you have any suggestions for cases you'd like to see me cover in the future, be sure to comment them down below, I would love to see your suggestions. It really, really helps. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Remember to be kind to others. Goodbye.